We're going to fire you, but we're going to hire you back as a contractor because we got to teach you a lesson and sue you. Now come back on over here and make money for us. But don't steal as much as you make. Just only steal a little bit.
I don't hear nobody out there. Hold it down.
Was run by one Clive Davis, already something of an icon in the recording industry. When Davis looked at what Buddha could bring to his new label, he was particularly interested in Gladys Knight. Y'all, I am so sorry. Lulu over here snoring. I don't know what to do. But Cass was not in a position to throw Knight into the bargain. Her contract was up for renewal and she wanted out. Phyllis was the logical consolation prize. She was still under contract to Buddha, and Arista could absorb her without issue. Suddenly, Phyllis found herself an Arista recording artist without any say-so in the matter whatsoever. This was a fact that did not sit well with her, and when Phyllis was unhappy, she was not one to keep quiet about it for long. Hey, look, that's the business. By 1978, Clive Davis was somewhat of a controversial figure. Now, what we about to get into, y'all, I had no idea. A Harvard-educated attorney, Davis was 28 when he joined the Columbia Records legal staff in 1960. 7 years later, he was president of the company. The flagship label of the CBS Records Group, Columbia, was the leading label in the industry by the late 1950s. But during his rapid rise to the top, Davis noticed that the label's Broadway and mainstream pop sales, the genres that had only a decade before been responsible for Columbia's prominence, were beginning to wane. So throughout his 6 years at the helm of Columbia, Clive spent much of his time changing the company's course and steering it into more contemporary waters. So I've learned a lot about business in my years as an entrepreneur. Okay, and I've taken these skills with me into the work world, okay, especially with where I am, so I believe that they view me as an asset because of my entrepreneurial skills. Clive Davis is an Aries. Y'all know my sister is an Aries. And one thing that I've learned from her and my wife is that F all that other shit you talking. How much do you make the company and how much do you save this company? I will never forget that. He had an epiphany of sorts at the Monterey Pop Festival in 1967. It was clear that a social revolution was occurring. Clear that a musical revolution was occurring, Davis said. Shortly after, back in his office in New York, Clive became convinced that rock was the wave of the future and began signing a long list of future superstars that included Carlos Santana, Billy Joel, Bruce Springsteen, and a rowdy redhead named Janis Joplin, whom Clive had first seen at Monterey. But while rock may have been Clive's biggest contribution to Columbia, it wasn't his only one. Clive realized that Columbia was clueless when it came to rhythm and blues. Indeed, Aretha Franklin was signed to the label the same year Clive came on board and left it. virtually hitless just before he took over the presidency. Clive knew as he watched Aretha move on to instant success at Atlantic that there was money to be made in rhythm and blues as a genre continued to cross over to white audiences. It was quite a stroke of luck when Philadelphia-based producers Gamble and Huff approached him about a distribution deal for their fledgling Philadelphia International Records label in 1971. Acts such as the OJs, Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, and Billy Paul took to the top of the charts within a year. In fact, 4 out of Columbia's 9 gold singles for 1972 were on the PIR label. By the following year, however, the party was over for Clive at Columbia. Actually, it was the party, or more precisely, the bar mitzvah, that ended his association with the label. On February 6, 1973, Clive was one of 8 men indicted in a massive payola sting. If you don't know what that is when the record companies go down there to the radio stations and give the DJs a shitload of money to push their music. Yeah, it was a time, believe it or not, there was a time where the DJs had control over what they wanted to play. It ain't like that no more. CBS fired him on May 29th. The same day, they served him with a lawsuit that accused him of embezzling nearly $100,000 from the company over the past 6 years. Most of the funds were traced through a series of falsified receipts, including $18,000 billed as a party for the label's newest act, Liza Minnelli. You know who that is. That is the original Judy's daughter. Most of the funds were traced through a series of falsified receipts, including $18,000 billed as a party for the label's newest act, Liza Minnelli, that never happened and was actually spent on an October 1972 bar mitzvah for Clive's son. He got children. Ooh, I wonder if they in protective custody now, girl. In May 1976, the government dropped all but one charge against Clive, and he pleaded guilty to a single count of tax evasion stemming from $8,800 worth of personal vacation expenses that had been charged to CBS. The following year was spent settling the civil case CBS had brought against him and writing his memoir, Clive Inside the Record Business. Inside the record business was exactly where he wanted to be once more, and soon enough he was. Barely a year after settling the civil lawsuit with CBS, Clive accepted an offer to head up the records division of the CBS-owned Columbia Pictures, Bell Records. See, this is what's crazy to me. You just sued the nigga because you knew he wasn't shiz. Now you're going to hire him back under a... That's what they do all the time. I don't even know why I'm like confused about this, because ninjas do this all the time. We're going to fire you, but we're going to hire you back as a contractor because we got to teach you a lesson and sue you. Now come back on over here and make money for us, but don't steal as much as you make. Just only steal a little bit. Inside the record business was exactly where he wanted to be once more, and soon enough he was. Barely a year after settling the civil suit with CBS, Clive accepted an offer to head up the records division of the CBS-owned Columbia Pictures Bell Records. Clive quickly changed the label's name to Arista, and that was just the beginning. He let go of virtually all the artists on Bell's roster, except Barry Manilow. He not about to let that that I don't know, ambidextrial man go anywhere. That motherfucker make hits. Say what you want to, but he make the hits. Despite how Phyllis found her way into the mix, there were many reasons why she and Arista had the potential to be a good match. For starters, Clive had been given $10 million to start the label, which was approximately the amount Buddha president Art Cass was said to be in the hole. And though Cass had earned a reputation through the years as a compassionate executive, he had neither the power nor the influence that Clive wielded by this time. If anything, Clive was more determined to prove himself in the wake of the payola scandal. Like a prize racehorse out the gate, he wasted no time in establishing his new label and making it an industry front runner. Okay, pause. Y'all want to know why want to run for the presidency again and is looking at y'all like y'all crazy for not understanding why he's back on the bill? Looking at this situation, it's because things like this happen all the time in business. And running the country is more so about business than democracy. Remember, NayRob told you. Like a prize racehorse out of the gate, he wasted no time in establishing his new label and making it an industry frontrunner. Indeed, the first record Arista released, Mandy by Barry Manilow, became not only Arista's first #1, but also its first gold record. Remember that Mandy? Child, I don't know if you do remember the Mandy, but that Mother Hunchy was a hit. The album was already platinum by the time Mandy had made it to gold. Despite all of this, and not to mention the generous $50,000 advance she received for signing with the label, Phyllis was not at all happy to be an Arista artist. From the moment the deal was signed, she was pissed, recalled publicist Barbara Shelley, who made the transition from Buddha to Arista with Phyllis. She was pissed that no one thought to make a deal with Phyllis Hyman. I get it, because I am human. Ask me. But I'm telling you, I had to learn the hard way as PRN. And basically, PRN is like being a contractor. They just throw me anywhere. At first, I fought it. Okay, because I understand what Phyllis Hyman is saying. Ask me. Don't just throw me places, just ask me. But once I realized, oh honey, it's more money for you to make over there. Stop all that crying, go over there and make your money. And when I started to understand that I'm more so a contractor and not an employee, I dug it. It doesn't feel good for them to toss you around like that. It's for them to just make deals without even consulting you first. But it is what it is. They put me where they need me. And when they done with me and when they don't need me no more, they put me somewhere else. It hurts my feelings because I established relationships with these people at certain sites. But then on to the next one. That's something that I had to force myself to understand because I like what's comfortable. But once I got it in my mind, you're a contractor. You do what these people want you to do. You go where these people want you to go. You follow the money, not your feelings. From the moment the deal was signed, she was pissed, recalled publicist Barbara Shelley, who made the transition from Buddha to Arista with Phyllis. She was pissed that no one thought to make a deal with Phyllis Hyman. But if anything, Clive could have made the deal and not taken her as part of it. It is what it is. He took her because he appreciated her talent. He was enamored with her. He really saw the talent that was there. That was not enough for Phyllis, though. The money and the perks meant little to her compared to the things the deal did not indulge. You know she's a Cancer. dealing with her makes you appreciate life. You know what I'm saying? Like things that I thought were square or just awkward or something, she made me enjoy small things. You know what I'm saying? Instead of me being that person that would spend thousands on a Chanel bag, she taught me how to enjoy finding an old school coach and appreciating the quality of an old school coach. It doesn't take a lot for a Cancer woman to be happy because they enjoy the small things in life. You know? And they treat it just like it's the best. That's why they have to be careful when they choose their lovers, because their lovers will give them next to nothing and they will appreciate that next to nothing. So anyway, what Phyllis Hyman said was, at this point, her and her husband is living in a 1-bedroom apartment in a small space. They good. She good with that. But coming from her previous label where she was a big fish in a small pond, and then going over here with Clive Davis, now she's a small fish in a sea, moving to Earth, represented losing control to Phyllis.